I would have never thought about that as shape-shifting, but that's exactly what it is.
Same goes for if I want to walk into a busy room and I don't want to be noticed, how do I shapeshift into a black cat and just sort of slink around the outer sides of the room? This is something we practice and we have so much fun doing it.
Welcome to Sharing with SusanB. Hi, welcome. I'm Susan Blaine. Welcome to Sharing with SusanB. I'm here with Karen Keskinen. We're having some very provocative conversation around Which School Canada, whichschool.ca is the website. And we're doing a 3-part series. So in the first episode, we talked a little bit more about Karen and her backstory and how she came to be doing this work and some of the things she's really passionate about and some struggles and her why. And the second part, we talked a little bit about the history of witch work and the stereotypes. And now we're going to get into the actual work that Witch School Canada is doing. And I'm so thrilled to be having this conversation, Karen, and shedding some light on this wonderful work. And we were just talking in the break with our videographer here, AC Chan, and he was engaging in the conversation and asked whether men were part of Witch School. Mm-hmm. And you said it's binary and it's open to all humans. It's really human work, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's nature work.
Nature work. I love that.
And it doesn't matter how you identify, you're welcomed.
I love that. Now, I'm very excited about the importance and the power of this work because it's about intuition. It's about reconnecting to nature and tuning in and peeling back the layers of who we think we should be or who we were told to be and really tuning into who we truly are. Mm-hmm. Would you say that is a sort of a fair
great description?
So when I go to your website, the first thing that I see is a question. Are you seeking a more naturally spiritual life? Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
Is that the overall objective?
I think that we're all seeking a more natural spiritual life.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's universal no matter what your belief is. First of all, we need to connect more with nature. And I don't know about you, but when I'm out in the forest, that's my temple.
It's my happy place.
And spiritual is like, that's where I feel more connected to myself and to nature around me.
And if people are honest, I think everybody feels that way as a
so.
human being, right? So let's talk about Witch School. It's 11 months long, correct? And your curriculum is broken down into 3 semesters?
That's right.
You also have a very intensive vetting process. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, I think that witches have become very popular.
Who would have thought?
And I think there's a lot that we're watching in entertainment. But
I've always loved witches.
Of course.
Like back in the day, Bewitched. That gives away my age.
Yeah, well, there's 2 versions of Bewitched, but I would say that we all are a little curious about having magical powers and what that might mean. It's not really flicking my nose and something happens. It's empowerment.
Yes.
And when I read someone's tarot cards, I'm not telling them a make-believe future. We're addressing what is today. And if you continue on this path, that will be tomorrow. Well, in a sense, that's what's happened in nature. In nature, if we continue to harm the land the way that we have, you can guess what's going to happen. And so we have to deepen our relationship with nature and see it not as different from our own bodies and selves,
but as one.
We're connected.
So in your vetting process, what are you looking for in your students?
Well, it's really only 20 students per course.
Okay, so very intimate.
I want a small group. I want them to connect. I want to connect with them as the other teachers do. And so we have an online application And so that's on the website.
Yeah.
And you answer a series of questions. And then we go through them and we identify a good fit. And I often receive wonderful applications that I have to decline because they're looking for maybe something darker than what we offer.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And then we have an intake interview.
Yes.
And that is a period of time where we talk about what people are looking for and what they expect.
Okay. And it's not just restricted to women.
It's not.
No.
I would say women are most attracted to it,
Sure.
but it's non-binary and all are welcome. And even once we go through the intake interview, I really want to be sure that people have made the right decision and that we have a curated classroom. So I'm selecting people from around the world now when it's an online class, intergenerational, and I want people to come with varied experiences. They don't have to be experts and they're not all beginners. It's this wonderful mix.
So everyone learns from each other.
That's right.
I love that. Again, we all are one. So there's 3 semesters or phases. The first one you get into is theory, hands-on, and then leadership and training, correct? So you facilitate also the curriculum in interesting ways, I found. You do group learning. You do in classroom, that would be online as well. And then sharing is a very big part of your program as well, at least in the first semester from what I could tell. So in the first course or first semester, I'll call it, the first phase, you learn about the ancient traditions. And we touched a little bit about that in our other segments. And beliefs that are related to earth-based spirituality. And that's really sounds like that's your foundation. And then you explore feminine and masculine beliefs, mythologies of the great goddesses. So there's a lot of history that you cover, which is really fascinating. And how do you, so you begin with that, which makes a lot of sense, but how do you find that kind of opens up those that come? You know, I'm thinking about myself and how I would respond to taking in all that information. How do you find that initial phase of getting into the history and belief systems, does it start to open people up to looking at things in a different way?
Yeah, the first semester is really set up like going back to school. So it has a linear learning. There's PowerPoints, there's National Film Board documentaries, like The Burning Times, a Canadian producer. And you really start to see a great history that you belong to. And we assign our own beliefs and realize, oh, that's where we might have gotten that belief from. And then when we started dismantling collaborative and creative societies and replace them with patriarchy and hierarchy and decisions that were based on money and power, then we started taking over nature and the land.
Yes.
And so we have to unpack that to best understand, where do I fit?
Yes.
And where did this go wrong? And how can we make it better?
Hence why so many of us feel lost.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Now, the second phase is hands-on. And I found this, you're learning tools and healing art of witchcraft. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, many of us already know about tarot, or
I have a couple decks in my room.
Or gemstones, or
and herbal teas,
That's
right?
right.
Herbal
We're
medicine.
all testing it. But what's interesting, in the second semester with hands-on learning, we have a different faculty member teaching a different witch tool every class. So it's great for those of us like myself that are more kinesthetic learners. I learn by doing.
Yes, me too.
So we have shapeshifting.
Yes, I saw that. That sounds fascinating.
Jackie Dutoit is
What
an
does that
amazing...
what does that really mean, shapeshifting? Because I have a picture of that from Hollywood.
Not so different, but now add the divine sacred to it. So let's say you have public speaking to do and you're terrified, when you have certain witch skills and tools at your ready, you can go to the bathroom and you can do some deep breathing and start becoming one of the goddesses that you've studied. And you do that with your body, your breathing, your self-awareness. And yes, it could feel a little like acting, but you become that goddess because you studied them. And
You empower their qualities.
and you're aspecting their attributes. Suddenly your shoulders are back, your chin is up, and you work the room like nobody's business.
I love that. I would have never thought about that as shape-shifting, but that's exactly what it is.
Same goes for if I want to walk into a busy room and I don't want to be noticed, how do I shapeshift into a black cat and just sort of slink around the outer sides of the room? This is something we practice and we have so much fun doing it. It's like going to acting school.
I love that. And somebody that wanted to be a performing artist all her life, I would find that fascinating. And then you take a break for a month to do independent work.
After semester 2, you're learning 6 different tools: sacred circle dancing, herbal magic, tarot, drumming, trance. You need to let it settle in. So I call it the planting break, where you've planted all these seeds and you need to let them germinate. So there's a month-long break, and then we come back together with a graduating into ceremony.
Okay, very cool. So let's talk about that then. Leadership in action is what you call that 3rd semester. It's where you kind of pull it all together and step forward.
Yeah, I mean, I teach an MBA class at university, so I often think witch school semester 3 is like an MBA for witches. It really is about leadership. And that means a lot of things to a lot of people. I'd say some people hate that word because it brings to mind patriarchy or my boss or a hierarchy or I got to get ahead. But I define it as, what do you internally want to be more empowered with? Many of us turn inwards and say, I want to develop these qualities, or I want to start a small business, or I have these healing arts like Reiki or tarot or storytelling, or I want to start something, but I've never had the courage. And so the semester 3, we meet once a month, but there's homework in between the classes, and you're assigned a crone or a mentor that helps you along, and we hold each other accountable. And so leadership becomes very personal by setting an intention and almost imagining yourself in that role. You become it through those next 6 months.
You shape and shift into it.
Yeah.
I love that. So you've done this now for 5 years. You have a lot of alumni. What would you say is sort of the general feeling? I know you're about to do some filming and some pieces too on, I'm not going to say testimonials, but stories of students and their work and the outcome. What would you say generally is the sense and the feel that students have at this point once completing the 11 months?
Yeah. Well, once you become an alumni, you're part of this much bigger circle. And the alumni have created their own activities. There's a Badass Babes book club, and they study books like Women Who Run with the Wolves by Dr. Maria Pinkola Estes. There's a tarot group, and they learn together online or in person.
So deep friendships is what I'm hearing.
Deep connections, intergenerational, intersectionality. This is an opportunity to be part of a greater group across Canada, and now that we're more online, around the world.
Wow.
So that becomes its own community.
Yes.
And I don't have much to do with it. They sort of take it on their own. I go back and teach people that are entering witch school again.
It's interesting how it creates a life, a world, and a community of its own. You know, of people seeking, right, that connection.
And community is so important. Many of us are flying solo. I mean, I got married. Many of us got married, and now we're not. Maybe our partners pass or we find ourselves alone. But we can look to one another and find and build our own communities. And I know I've always been looking for the family I didn't have, being adopted. And I know that it motivates me.
Yes.
To be welcomed and committed to doing something spiritual in nature together. It's my alive place.
And seeing the outcome and the product of the work and people connecting and building those ongoing communities and relationships. That must feel very fulfilling.
And this week I'm joining Sacred Circle dancing outside for the first time in a long time. And we dance these ancient dances that are very simple to music that has been around for thousands of years. And they're just simple grapevine, but you enter into a trance and you're in a circle and you're moving, and we're not holding hands yet. We're maybe tied by ribbons or scarves.
Yeah.
But we begin to dance in a spiral outside in the snow in a labyrinth to candles. And the
That's
music
cool.
is beautiful.
Wow. Well, that's meditative in itself too, right?
It
And
is.
God knows I meditate every day, so I know the power of that, of going within and being still and shutting out the noise, because there's a lot of noise right now.
So let me tell you something about witch work. When we cast a spell, and you've heard what spell casting is about probably from movies, we enter into that meditative trance state, but we do it with an intention before we go in. So I am stronger. So as you're going through that trance or that meditation, you might come out of that trance and meditation and maybe blow out all the candles or start drumming loudly with a Celtic drum, if that's your origin. Or you might howl at a full moon if you can. And I know that makes lots of people bashful, but boy, does it feel good.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you charge your intention, then your body remembers like a somatic experience.
Yes.
And you become stronger just by the very action of charging it.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
And so if you think about weddings, when you say you may kiss the bride or kiss the person, or you are at a birthday and you blow out the candles, these are charges. It's like spell casting. We just don't realize it. Make a wish, blow out the candle.
Yes.
Witches.
Charging
The energy forward so your body remembers it.
Associative memory.
Making it so.
Wow, that's powerful. Very powerful, Karen. I could talk to you all day. We have had many hours of conversation and many more to come. I hope you guys are enjoying this conversation and want to learn more about Witch School Canada at witchschool.ca. And that's where you can check out their curriculum, their program. There's some great blogs on there. I've been lost in their website for a little while. I was just really intrigued by this work. I think this is a powerful time in history that we all are looking to reconnect with ourselves and reconnect with nature. So I just herald you and the work that you're doing and the teachers at your school. I think it's just great. I think we need more of it. It's part of a movement that's happening out in the world. So witchschool.ca is their website. You'll also find the social media handles on there where you can follow their work and learn more about Karen and the teachers. Myself, Susan Blaine, SusanBlaine.com. You can learn more about working with me and some of the other great conversations that I've had over the years. I'm also on YouTube, sharing with SusanB. So check me out and connect with me on my social media handles. I'm so grateful to have had this conversation, that you took the time, Karen, and hopefully everyone's learned a little bit more about your work and witchschool.ca. Until the next time, thank you so much. And I'm going to join you in one of these sacred circles. I would love to experience that. So thank you so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Peace out.